Happens in a second. All right.
Now, what are we going to do? We're going to do like an intro for it, and we'll do some patter before we get into the full movie,
I mean,
and we'll just splice that in afterwards.
technically it says we're live, and there's just a screen that says starting soon right now. So I'm going to go take a pee, and then we're going to come back, and it's just going to be you and me. We're going to be sitting there with the movie ready to go.
All right.
And when we just start cracking wise, and then we click play when we want to, and when the first 20-minute file runs its course, we'll take a little break, talk some shit while I get the next one set up. We'll just do that live, because fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just go from there. So I'm going to go take a pee, and we'll see how, and yeah.
All right.
You feeling good? You feeling spry?
Yeah, I'm feeling fine, man. I don't know if I'm spry, but I'm feeling pretty good.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, let's see, make sure that's there. Make sure that's there. Okay, Andrew.
Okay.
As I can tell, based on what I'm looking at, given that one of my computers died, we are now live streaming to YouTube, I think.
Live streaming to YouTube.
I am
live streaming to YouTube.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Okay, so we're gonna watch some movies because why the hell not?
It's quarantine, or at least it should be. At least I'm not going outside unless I really have to.
Quarantine. The debates were a shit show. The debate was a shit show. Do we want to get political? I don't know if I really want to get political.
We have so much work with Nosferatu to really, we have like it's a classic movie, and we shouldn't adulterate this great horror movie with politics.
I think that's the right move to make. I feel like I'm just kind of trying to.
It will kill the vibe.
Chilling, man.
It will kill the vibe.
Everything will be.
So let me read.
Will be all right as long as cooler heads prevail.
Everything will be cool. It's funny that we're gonna be cool. Saying everything's gonna be all right just before we watch one of the most influential horror movies of all time. The 1922 classic Nosferatu.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen this movie, Jack?
I've seen it a bunch of times. It's weird how it's lined up that we're watching this movie in one of the few times in my life I don't feel like dressing like a goth. But
oh wow. You got your Hawaiian shirt on and everything. That's very
I got the Hawaiian shirt, got the rose tinted lenses.
Right.
I'm feeling very up right now because
you feel wow.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm just feeling that.
You're just feeling good. You're just feeling good, huh?
I'm feeling that things went well.
Wow. Well, I mean, okay. I can acknowledge when people are happy. I suppose some people are happy
It
at
does happen
times. I
sometimes.
could
Rare as
acknowledge
it might
that.
be.
I can also acknowledge that some people are happy a lot. But I think it's more like perfect pitch, those people. They just kind of have a genetic predisposition towards being happy a lot.
I have to question that based on other videos, which is a whole other thing. I mean, we would need to get Dale on here, and we'd have to talk about how Robin Williams was in the "Don't Worry, Be Happy" video, and it'd be a whole other thing.
All right. Okay, so let's talk about Nosferatu for a little bit.
This is the preeminent vampire movie, right? Like this is before Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
And Dracula's a piece of trash. That Bela Lugosi version of Dracula, it's a piece of trash. This is the real deal. I'm going to read you the paragraph from the IMDb page.
Which is better, the Bram Stoker Dracula movie or Dracula Dead and Loving It starring Leslie Nielsen?
Well, they are two different categories. It's like comparing apples and oranges. That's what it is.
That's like comparing, Scream to not another teen movie.
I really liked Scream. I liked Scream. Scream was a lot of fun. So let me read through the IMDb page, the first paragraph about Nosferatu. For all of those of you who aren't acquainted with the movie, it's a 1922 silent movie, and this is what IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, has to say about it. In this highly influential silent horror film, the mysterious Count Orlok, played by Max Schreck, summons Thomas Huta, played by Gustav von Wagenheim, to his remote in the mountains. The eerie Orlok seeks to buy a house near Huta and his wife Ellen, played by Greta Schroeder. After Orlok reveals his vampire nature, Huta struggles to escape the castle, knowing that Ellen is in grave danger. Meanwhile, Orlok's servant, Nock, prepares for his master to arrive at his new home. Directed by F.W. Murnau. And of course, have you seen Shadow of the Vampire, the 2000 movie with that was based on Nosferatu, Jack?
A 2000 movie based on Nosferatu. Shadow of the Vampire, maybe.
Okay, so Shadow of the Vampire.
That was around the same time I was still like renting VHS tapes at the local video store.
Willem Dafoe plays a real vampire.
Oh.
And it is a retelling of the shooting of Nosferatu. And of course, it's fictional because there's a real vampire in it.
So it's got kind of a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of feel, where it's a movie about the making of the movie.
Totally, dude. Yeah. It's hilarious, and if people haven't seen Shadow of the Vampire, it's definitely worth seeing because you got like really big names in it. You have Willem Dafoe, you have John Malkovich, Udo Kier, some really cool people in it, and it's a fun movie. There's a lot of dark humor.
I'm always vaguely suspicious of things like that. Okay, movies like that always strike me as you've got this group of actors who still have one movie in their contract,
right?
And a bunch of and somehow a writer sits down and says, okay, I can take this group of actors and write something that they would think is fun to do.
Yeah, well, Shadow of the Vampire strikes me as a passion project. It is like a geeks movie.
But there's passion project inside the system where it's like, all these people have contracts and we can get them all to do this thing, whatever it is. And there's passion project, like we're doing this on a shoestring budget with Patreon donations. And, it's the difference between, Lord of the Rings and Meet the Feebles, right? Like
I'm looking through the cast for Shadow of the Vampire, and Eddie Izzard's in it too.
Of course he is.
Of course
He'll go anywhere for a job, especially that. Right?
Yeah. So,
all right, so we're going to watch Nosferatu, and we're probably going to talk some smack about whatever the hell else is going on in our lives. And
sure.
Watch the first,
I'm ready to roll, man. I am ready to roll.
Yeah, ready. Oh, you know what? I don't know if you're looking at the same link I am. Can you send me the link you're looking at? real
I
quick?
can.
I think
because I'm like super talented in technology and stuff.
I just think I might be looking at a different link than you, and I want to make sure that we're playing
That
off
we're
the same
linked up.
link.
That
I
we're
just want to
linked
make
up.
sure we're playing off the same link, so we don't have any major problems.
All right, I just sent you the same, the hopefully the same link that I have that I am on.
And do this.
Because this is the Internet Archive that I'm looking at.
Yes. That's good.
Miracle of live shows. This is what we
Welcome
have.
to lot. Yeah, I mean, look, people, we're doing this for basically nothing.
From nothing, for nothing, to nothing. Is this some kind of nihilistic round robin? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I'm not really feeling nihilism right now. You know what I mean?
You know,
I feel like nihilism is the other side of the divide of whatever the fuck I'm on.
Whatever you're on. You want to talk about this? Are we going to unpack exactly what the basis of why you're in such a good mood? Is it alcohol? Is that what this is? Alcohol?
No, I really genuinely feel like.
So you're saying you're in a, you know, and don't.
Trump made himself look like a fucking fool yesterday, and
what's that?
Trump made himself look like a fool yesterday, and
oh yeah, well Trump, yeah.
And it is definitely, and then like, I am in love with how Biden. The debate happened. And then immediately he was on a whistle stop tour on Amtrak from Ohio through Pennsylvania. And I'm just like, yes, that's exactly what Joe Biden should be doing right now.
Well, I took a look at, and I take a look at 538 quite a bit for the state polls in particular. But Biden's doing exceptionally well in Pennsylvania, and he's also not doing too bad in Ohio.
I'm not going to lie. Like, the numbers are low. Like, as someone from the Northeast, right? You're in Boston. I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Looking at the numbers, they don't look great. But the fact that South Carolina is neck and neck is very telling. If South Carolina goes blue and Lindsey Graham is fucked, and I'll be so happy.
So what do we have, Jack? Are we all set?
Yeah, we're gonna start watching Nosferatu. You ready to go? Okay, so you're gonna mute your audio on the video.
It's so muted you don't even know how muted it is.
Okay, so we're just gonna do a 3, 2, 1, and click play on one of 5. Yeah.
One of wait. So we count down from 5, and then
we hit one. You've got 5 files, right? 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5.
Yeah. And we're gonna take a break in between files. I understand what's going on.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, click.
Love the music.
So how about you? How are you feeling up there?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know me. I'm just an angry stoic, I guess. So yeah, this is just
an angry stoic. I feel like Massimo would have a problem with the idea of angry stoics, right? Like,
I think so.
Like angry, you shouldn't. Stoics shouldn't be angry. Stoics should be a bit more. This too shall pass.
Yeah, you're right. So from what I understand, there was a pretty major legal battle between Stoker's estate.
Between who and who?
Bram Stoker's estate and the makers of Nosferatu.
Turn my audio on the video down a little bit, just so we're not
yelling over each other,
talking over the musical accompaniment. Okay. So Bram Stoker's estate. Well, how does that? I mean, it's 1922. What
I heard is that the people making Nosferatu tried to get the rights from Stoker's estate. It didn't work out. They didn't give it to the makers of Nosferatu, so they just kind of whitewashed it. Oh, here comes the movie. From the Diary of Johann Cavalius. What a weird music for this part. That name alone can chill the blood. So, the movie takes place in 1838.
I have absolutely no idea how well this is working, by the way.
I don't know either, man.
I mean, it'd be a lot better if my desktop hadn't died the other week, which is kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm trying to do everything off of one machine. And so this might be really shitty, and I have no idea what people are actually seeing right now. This might be an absolute disaster.
Well, that's good to know. I'm gonna check how it looks at least on our page. Oh, look, she's playing with a cat. It's wonderful.
Cats
they had cats back in 1838. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
I had no idea either.
I mean, it seems like things are working more or less okay.
Look at that creepy smile.
It is very Man Who Laughs jokery, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it is. It is very jokery.
You're a little out of frame, Andy. You kind of.
I'm out of frame. Oh no. All right, I'll be in frame. Am I now in frame?
You're about half in frame. You need to lean more to the other way. Other way.
I just went what, this way?
Yeah, that way. Now you're too far.
Okay. How's this? Is this baby bear?
It's not bad. You could be a little more to your right yet.
My right or your right?
Your right. There you go. There you go. Anyway. Wait, young man. You can't escape destiny by running away. Dun dun dun.
You know, I think you can actually. I think you can run pretty. I mean, yeah, you can go pretty far.
What was it? That was John Cleese when he gave his. I can't remember what school it was at, but he gave one of the graduation speeches, and he did this whole thing on cowardice, which was brilliant, where he talked about his parents. And he's just like, some grandparent of his running away from the battlefields on World War II, and a sergeant stopped him and said, "Why are you running?" And he said, and my great-great-grandfather said, "I am running, sir, because I cannot fly." And this is the value of cowardice, folks. It was really good. Probably one of his best bits. Long run best bits. It's no parrot sketch, but.
Right. No parrot sketch, indeed. The Agent Renfield.
Renfield is such a weird character. He's such a simpering toady.
Have you read Dracula? The actual novel?
I've read Dracula, and there's also a interesting for a while, for Alice Cooper's personal assistant's nickname was Renfield, which is funny.
Nice. Or even a little blood. A little on the nose for dialogue, even on a
You will have a marvelous journey, though. Little blood, more or less, but a marvelous journey. What's more important to you, a little blood or a marvelous journey? God, I could totally see Jim Carrey as Count Olaf. I could totally see reprising that role. Can't you?
Oh yeah, he'd be magic.
He'd do great.
Yeah. This guy Renfield's pants are very strange. You'll see that they're very high-waisted pants. I guess that was the style back then.
It was a fashion of the time. Yeah, and they're also kind of that offset button. We haven't really figured out zippers yet.
This is the thing, right? We're going to be selling this Count royalty from Pennsylvania. No, from Transylvania This ghetto house across the street from mine, this burnt out shell. The land of
I mean,
phantoms.
hey, that's just, inner city redevelopment.
Oh, yeah. Good point. There's a lot of laughing here. I don't know if men held hands like that and slapped in laughter that much in 1838. Seemed
I
a
mean,
bit forced.
holding hands was all they did until the camera went off. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
I understand. To the Carpathians. To a lost corner. This is marriage 101. You can't be telling your girl, I'm going to go in the middle of nowhere to some dangerous place.
This is a bit Rapunzel-y. I'm going to send you off to the middle of nowhere to make sure you're safe. Where no one can see you or talk to you or...
Yeah. You get the idea that back in 1838, it was very drafty. Everyone has multiple layers of clothes.
I think that goes without saying.
It's the big romance.
Those were not romance eyes. Whatever, however she was looking at him, that was not.
Baby eyes.
Okay, honey, I'm gonna leave you with my best friend and his wife, and there's no way that's turning up. There's no way that's not becoming the streaming channel on Pornhub. There's just no way.
Right. No way of that. She can't be left alone because she's a woman and doesn't have rights.
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave her with my friends and go to Carpathia.
Well,
and nothing weird's gonna happen there.
Yeah. The important thing is that she's with her friend who has a husband, so it's legitimate. I'd be very uncomfortable. I'd have to learn how to ride a horse. You can't just walk places. There's no bus. There's no village carriage bus system.
And if you're just in town, riding a horse at a jaunty saunter, it's not a big deal. Yeah. But once you get it to a gallop, that's where it starts to
be hurtful.
Yeah. I mean, that just seems like we sent somebody to get stock footage of the most barren bit of the Ural Mountains we could find.
In Shadow of the Vampire, they use this exact kind of getup right here. If you see the movie Shadow of the Vampire in 2000, it's the same kind of village, this house. I like his jacket. It's like it has mini capes.
Probably I kind of feel like when you see this, whenever you see a man and woman running a tavern, right?
Yes.
Master of the House from Les Mis plays in my head, and I just assume they're shitty people.
Yeah. I should already be at Count Dracula's castle.
It's kind of it's not unlike, however, when I see Proud Boys and Antifa fighting with each other in the streets. All I hear in my head is Sharks versus the Jets from West Side Story.
You're all the way from your first cigarette till your last dying day.
Yeah, because it's the same fucking thing. It's just, all right, fine, we're a bunch of middle managers who have more time than sense, and we just want to go out and
I like this guy's mustache. It's pretty vicious walrus stuff going on there.
It is some pretty vicious walrus mustache. You're not wrong.
The evil spirits come out.
All powerful. Well, if they're all powerful, there's no sense fighting it, right? I mean, they're either all powerful or you have a chance.
Hyena / werewolf. So this is supposed to be, I believe, Count Dracula in wolf form.
That is definitely like a hyena. That is not a wolf.
That's a hyena.
It looks like a hyena. Maybe a thylacine, if those still those still existed when Australia, whatever.
There's a difference, Jack.
I know. I'm just not necessarily whoever was in charge of animal wrangling knew. I'm going to go with hyena.
We'll go with hyena, yeah.
It looks like a hyena.
It looks like they put the hyena in some kind of weird jacket or something.
Well, but that's why it's the stripies that are throwing me off, but they don't show it. Because I could tell if it was a thylacine if I saw it, yawn or something, because thylacines had like 130-degree draw action.
No, really?
Yeah, don't ask me why I know so much about that animal.
Do they have pouches?
Yes, they did have pouches. They were marsupials. And we killed them.
Vampires, plural, not just singular. It's like, oh, light reading material.
The Book of Vampires.
The first Nosferatu.
That was always the running gag when you were playing Vampire the Masquerade back in the day. There was the Book of Nod, and everyone was just like, well, it's in the Book of Nod, and everyone would just go,
Nod. Never speak it out loud. You cannot say the name out loud.
Do not say the words out loud, or else. What is that?
And he's like, silly primitives.
Oh, these peasant folk and their quaint traditions.
Yeah.
Now I'm attacked by it. This is the equivalent of the scene in the Bram Stoker one where the kind of by vampire orgy baby eating scene happens, right? Like this is about where we're at in the plot.
The orgy scene takes place when he's in, who is that? Keanu Reeves? We're talking about that movie, right? The 90s movie. Yeah, that's once Jonathan Harker gets into the castle, that's when they have the orgy scene there. Look, he's running around in his nightshirt trying to find his horse. Nope, that's somebody else. He's just relaxing. What is this? Men do not always recognize the dangers that beasts can sense at certain times.
Just because you've gotten complacent and lazy.
There's a lot of laughter in this. Very jovial horror movie.
It's weird. There is this weird kind of sense of like the difference between vampires and people. That vampires are still like there's this like if you remove the metaphysics from it and the blood drinking and supernatural live forever stuff, there's this sense that like, well, vampires are just people that haven't been domesticated yet. Like there's this.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, they're just like wild animalistic creatures.
But intelligent creatures, right?
Oh,
like
yeah, right.
That's the difference between zombies and vampires, right? Like vampires are, like zombies are defective vampires that something went horribly wrong, and because they're both relatively,
undead.
they're both undead. One is deteriorating and stupid, and the other one is very smooth and erudite and.
Yeah, that's the common conception of the vampire, sure.
And
but they're
vaguely European in the way that makes Americans uncomfortable.
Vaguely European, I like that. It's going to be nighttime. a bump. The mountain pass.
So I don't the weird bits of this movie that I don't know the history of. Like, was this actually shot in some South Central European country, like on location, or is it just like, is this just really like, some scenic bits of California? And
Oh no, this is a German movie. This is done in Germany, I believe. Filmed, yeah, somewhere in Germany. So this is definitely not, from what I understand, this is not a Hollywood production whatsoever. Because this is when German cinema was pushing out all kinds of stuff, like the Cask of Dr. Caligari, stuff like that. So where was not? Yeah, I'll take a look at where Nosferatu was actually shot.
well, so why was this what German cinema was focusing on at the time? Like this weird kind of vaguely gothic Edgar Allan Poe, Bram Stokery kind of like,
Well,
why is this what was capturing
even
the German
then, it was a
imagination?
business, and so I mean, everyone knows about vampires. I love this special effect. This is the special effect. They just run the film faster when Count Orlok or when Dracula, like drives his carriage up.
Yeah. What is it about that effect that really captures your attention of it?
It just moved. It's just silly because it just speeds up the film, basically. See?
Yeah,
It's like the Keystone Cops.
it does feel
right?
kind of jump cutty. Yeah, no, Keystone Cops, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, "What's going on?" And now the special effect once again, driving really fast, and I guess that's the special effect there.
I mean,
Yeah, so they actually started filming in exterior shots in the city of Wismar, Wismar, in Germany.
the big feather really makes that guy's hat.
Oh yeah, well I'm intimidated by the feathers. I am terrified.
That's how you know he's serious.
There's the director going, "We need the feather. Who brought the feather?" I didn't bring the feather. You have to have the feather for the scene to work.
I mean, like, what was it? This is the weird thing with like interpreting silent film for people who are used to regular, like, what just went on there, right? Like, dude walking down the road, some creepy dude with a big feather coming out of his has like, "Hey, get in, and I'll take you to the castle." It's like,
When
okay.
I've done my own shots for like the 48-hour film project or the small videos I've done, I always like the shot of the character coming out of darkness. I always thought that's one of the more spookier shots, and they just did that with Dracula, with a vampire coming out of darkness. I always like that look. And what they wanted to do with this, because the old vampire tales, they weren't like glittery Twilight creatures, these vampires. They were animated corpses, and so you can see it in how the actor Shrek plays the vampire. He plays it very stiff. "You are late, young man." "Sure, I'll walk into the darkness with you."
Yeah, you totally look trustworthy.
Yeah. You don't look like that guy on the carriage at all.
I guess there's a certain amount of, respect your elders going on there, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
I like,
hierarchical.
yeah, I'm an old creepy dude, but also I own this huge castle, so you're just gonna shut the fuck up and respect the hierarchy
Yeah,
of wealth,
respect my authority.
right? Like,
Oh, here's the
is that
classic
how that
scene.
works?
Here it comes. He's got the knife. He's looking over these documents. Look at those eyebrows.
This is
You have to be dead to have
very,
those
very
eyebrows.
vaguely alchemical symbols on that paperwork, by the way.
Oh yeah. It's like I don't think
These are
that's a
like two
legal
Venus
document.
symbols
And
in a
who has a
row. Like,
skeleton on top on their clock? Uh-oh.
I
Oh,
mean,
he cuts his finger. Blood. Blood.
actually, interestingly, that scene's referenced in a episode of Black Books where,
Black books.
yeah, when Jen cut her finger and Richmond was like, "Oh, you cut your finger, let me help," and then he puts a Band-Aid on it, and it's cute and adorable because it's Noam Fielding, but it's still referencing this scene.
My girlfriend hadn't heard of Black Books. There's a whole BBC channel of obscure BBC shows streaming.
Is Black
And
Books an obscure show? I don't think it is.
Black Books, not a lot of people know Black Books.
Great show.
I have the whole day to sleep.
I'm just gonna back away slowly and sit in this chair.
Yeah, I'll just be comfortable and sit down in the chair and just hang out.
Freed from the oppressions of the night. What is yeah, he looks so casual.
Totes.
Who sleeps like that?
Someone wants to get his neck bitten, that's what.
I mean, granted, definitely not the most comfortable chair to sleep in.
No.
That is.
He's like, yep, it's all normal. This is normal. There's nothing weird going on.
Just gotta check my neck, make sure. Interestingly, it kind of goes to show how early on in the propagation of the vampire myth, he checks his neck to make sure there's no bite marks before he checks to see if he's got fangy things. Like, don't you think, like, if you were worried that you've been bit by a vampire, don't you think you'd look to see if you had fangs first before you'd be like, do I have fangs now? Because fangs are at least cool.
The trouble is that you don't know what vampire myth, what the operating system is, right? Regarding the story, like in the original Dracula novel, you're supposed to get bitten 3 times, you die, and then you rise from the dead. Other situations, you just get bit once and you turn into a vampire. Sometimes you get bit, but there has to be some kind of mumbo jumbo that happens for you to turn.
Yeah, like the Enrise thing, where like you have to make sure that they drink some of your blood before the heart stops beating, or what the fuck it is.
Yeah,
all kinds of. But that doesn't get to the root of what the vampire is supposed to be, right? Like, it always seems like it's kind of getting back to the zombie versus vampire thing. The vampire is the eternal undead aristocrat. Like, it seems like the vampire is just like the embodiment of the dying aristocracy, the guy who's just kind of living off his wealth and property and
right.
not really doing any.
Yeah. Right. So that's kind of like, and the zombies are what? Just the plebs? They're just Is that what they are?
My favorite thing with the zombies is I like the kind of George Romero zombies are the proletariat uprising kind of jam. I think that.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Which is why Vampires versus Zombies would be great, because then you've got dying aristocracy versus proletariat uprising, and why isn't that a movie?
I tell you this, I think a real mashup
you
would be...
You need to shift back to your right a little bit, Andy.
Which way?
Right.
This way? My right.
Yeah, there you
go. Like this?
Yeah.
I think it's more like I think it would be vampires versus malevolent AI. I think that's really where the real fight is. As you can imagine, the vampires trying to protect their food, while malevolent AI is just doing what malevolent AI does.
Well, I think that I don't know. I don't think that vampires necessarily have a problem with AI of any kind or another. Like, I think there's room for
apex predators would have trouble with other apex predators because there can only be one.
Yeah, but they're not praying for the same thing. Like, I think malevolent AI that just wants humans to not be a pain in their ass anymore would be perfectly content with vampires turning humans into basically brainless cattle, right?
No, I think the malevolent AI would want to just destroy. You see, this is the premise here, I guess. The premise of of how I would play it is that the malevolent
kind of
AI
matrixy. We're going to use them for batteries and whatever. Yeah.
Well, just to exterminate them, just to exterminate.
But why?
Homo sapiens.
Why extend the effort if they're not getting in your way?
Oh, I think people would find a way to get in the way. He's like, "Thank you, Mr. Strange Guy." So I saw this movie at the Museum of Fine Arts years ago. They had a live orchestra, not an orchestra, but live, what is it?
Musical accompaniment.
Yes, with a Philip Glass soundtrack that he wrote the score for it. It did not suck. Trace of his fame.
I think there's a lot of room for stuff like that. Like I know the public domain kind of gets a bad rap because of how old stuff is, but I feel like there's a lot of room for particularly stuff like this in these classic films where, particularly silent classic films, where people who are so inclined could, oh, and there it is. There it is. That's the shot. Oh, that dude's a vampire. What the hell? But there's room for people to, like, take these public domain films and just completely recut new scores to them, and I don't see why not.
Yeah.
You gotta appreciate how they went with somebody who's just that lanky.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at the dude. Like, however you describe that dude's form factor, it would be very weird for that dude to be famous today.
Oh yeah.
With the exception of, like, the tallest man in the world having a cameo in Big Fish or something like that. Like,
I like this guy. He's just smoking his bong. He's just hanging out. Or she feels something. She feels a calling. A dark call.
Somnambulistic, which is a big word for that title card.
Wow, look at that pipe, man. He is just styling. That's like a Gandalf the Grey pipe. Nina?
Pinto, Santa Maria. Like the doctor, quickly. That would be an amazing time for David Tennant to just bust through the door. Be like,
oh yes, that would be the time.
You got yourself a vaguely Edgar Allan Poe looking guy.
Oh, he's the old graybeard who's the authority.
I always think the word. Wow, that was doubly weird. The word Jonathan, like the name Jonathan with no H and then an O in the O-N at the end.
This guy's getting bitten by a vampire, and you care about how his name is spelled. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm worried about well, what are you going to do?
Oh, and now he sees her somehow through a mystic connection.
It's great how they use the same technique that they used for making people move fast outside to make him move really slow without moving at all, and it's all just stop motion where he'll like take a step and take another shot and take a step and take another shot. Mainly because you just couldn't do 30 frames per second at this point in time in society.
You just got a guy cranking. That's all this is. Just cranking. She's just a woman. That's her problem. Women's issues.
She's got the hysteria.
Hysteria.
I just need y'all to leave the room.
I like his hair, man.
I like the snare thing.
That kind of Pink Panther kind of vibe going on there.
It's the Get Smart. It's the Get Smart backline. So.
I bet he's trapped. They do some, I don't know if this is the scene, but they do some of that fast action photography there as a special effect in a bit. Oh, he is trapped in the castle. Oh no, maybe he's not. Maybe he can be running free.
Oh no, what's this casket?
Don't go in there, man.
Yeah, because if you're trying to escape, the first thing you do is run into a crypt. Somewhere that is definitely no exit. Who does that? But that's the guy. Why is he sleeping in a coffin? Why is he sleeping in a coffin?
Then you have to ask yourself, why isn't Jonathan Harper trying to?
Is he dead or just gone?
Stab him. You should be stabbing him or trying to cut off his head or doing something heroic.
It varies.
I think that cutting off the head is typically one of the best ways of killing a critter. Any critter. Overall.
I don't know if it's necessarily the best way to kill it. Like it won't necessarily.
Permanent.
But if you detach the head from the body, then the head can just kind of be this. If the head keeps living but can't control the arms and legs. What do? You put it on a shelf and just
then it becomes
Jambi the genie from fucking Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Scene, right? This is him being the Flash, one of the many Nosferatu superpowers you don't hear that much about. Super speed. He's like, I'm just gonna put myself in the box. Bam.
Why is my hand stuck to my forehead? Is this the part where where MacGyver makes a thing out of a duct tape and gets away? Yeah. I mean, he is the protagonist, right? That's how that goes.
I'm very pro him. That's what I'm saying.
Not that hat. I completely disagree with that hat. The hat is tragic.
It's a ridiculous hat. Suspected what terrible cargo they were carrying down the valley.
Hey, this dead guy that we thought we were carrying is only kinda dead.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Well, I would be suspicious of going down a river with a bunch of caskets, to tell you the truth.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
You can't bury the dead bodies at the top of the river because then all those contaminants will leach into the water, and then what do? Then all of a sudden you fuck up all your drinking water. You got to bury the dead bodies at the bottom of the river before it goes out to sea. This is a good idea.
Coffins filled with earth.
And not a drop to drink? Syllabically consistent.
So now they're taking the coffins and putting it into the ship, I imagine, right? The Demeter or Demeter. How do you pronounce that, Jack?
Go with Demeter.
Demeter, I don't even know her.
So this is very nice. So this is the part where Dracula's getting the fuck out of Dodge and
right.
So this is basically New World Europe, the English Empire being afraid of the Eastern European migration into the New World, right? That's really what this whole thing is. It's just we hate those weirdos from the Slavic countries.
There is a lot of fear of female sexuality in Dracula.
Yeah. But no, what I'm saying is this part of the story where Dracula leaves Transylvania and comes to the quote unquote New World. That's just talking shit on the Slavs versus the kind of
it's an interesting look at because migration brought about rats on ships, and rats brought plague. And so you can see how everything kind of like the fear of the foreigner, which is just part of our monkeyish DNA, was really coupled with a real fear that ships would have, or foreigners would bring in these diseases that people didn't really have a lot of immunity to.
But why make it vampirism? Why make it a disease that lets you live forever but lose your humanity? It's that weird dehumanization part of it that's very.
Well, it's because people really didn't know the fly trap scene. Don't worry, kids. No flies were. Maybe
a fly was definitely harmed in the production of that scene.
A fly was harmed in this scene. He's like, hey, this is what happens.
The vampire of the vegetable kingdom. There's another one. The vampire of the vegetable kingdom. That's where Count Duckula comes from, right there.
Vampire carrots. So with vampirism, people really didn't understand how bodies actually looked after they died. So that's why vampires, supposedly their hair kept growing, their fingernails kept growing.
Well, no, that's a bit of a misconception. The reason that people think the hair keeps growing and the fingernails keep growing,
that's because the flesh recedes.
Yeah, the flesh recedes, so it's kind of an optical illusion.
Right, it is an illusion. There is a phenomenon that people did not understand back then, and so that gave them this kind of fear and thought that people were still kind of animated even after their bodies died.
Yeah, but I mean, to say it was a misconception, like it's not that people didn't know how it worked, but people were around dead bodies plenty, right? Like, I mean, this is still in the time before parlors became living rooms and people had their wakes in their houses and whatnot. Like,
once again, just because they were around them doesn't mean that they understood how they worked. Like, for example, right. The classic example that
man, that guy is like that guy could. Danny DeVito as the penguin should be.
Yeah, Danny DeVito would be great.
Yeah.
Well, wakes were around there just to make sure the person didn't wake up, or they just didn't, they just weren't in some kind of coma or sleep.
Literally,
it's like, oh, Larry, thank God we didn't bury Larry.
That happened to President Herbert Hoover.
They thought he was the Hydra.
Yeah, no, Hoover's parents thought he had died, and he was
in a coma.
He wasn't. He woke up a couple days later. It was just, dude, nice. I'm fine. Just leave me alone. And then both his parents died, and then he became president, after a bunch of other stuff.
When he called for Nina, he was 1838, and he's like, "Go call the doctor." And I'm like, I don't know if the doctor's going to be helping, to tell you the truth. Oh, another savage mustache.
Just a spider doing stuff, because spiders.
Yeah. They're icky.
I gotta admit that cymbal music is a little off.
It is.
Like that cymbal music, I expect a stripper to come out at some point, and it doesn't.
You think so? Or the Pink Panther. I love the Oculus, the in and out of the of the camera.
Okay, who puts a cemetery that close to the beach?
Who does that? So tell me this, Jack. All right, so they're in the Carpathian Mountains, right? They're going to basically northern Germany, from what I understand of the story.
Uh-huh.
Why would they have to take a boat?
Why would it? Those people would definitely not put a cemetery that close to the beach. If you're in the Slavic countries and you're going to that beach, you know what that beach is for? Growing beets, so you can make borscht, so you can survive. Beets grow in sandy soil near the beach.
I understand. I get the whole backdrop there. I was gonna say you're bringing up your Ukrainian knowledge there of the borscht. Of beets.
It's hard to argue with root vegetables when you're that poor, man.
So we're actually on reel number 3 right now. We're just going straight through.
I guess so. It just keeps going. I thought that it would stop on us. Do you want to take a minute? We can.
No. I'm good. I can keep going.
I'm good to take a minute, but I don't know how I.
Yeah, don't. We're almost. Well, I mean, we're over halfway done.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get up for a minute and.
All right. I'll just like do some monologue here on
Yeah, go ahead.
Nosferatu.
Wax some exposition exemplary.
Wax on and off.
Just make sure you have a paper towel or something.
There's the Demeter. Or the Demeter, the Demeter. I believe that is the Greek or Roman goddess of the earth. Maybe that was the... Oh no. It's now a ghost ship. Or no, it's going to soon be. This is one of the classic shots coming up here that you'll see whenever there's a movie, a documentary about this movie. There's this shot that they always like showing from the bowels of the ship. New plague baffles science. Just a little bit of exposition there. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. I guess people read really slowly back then, too. He's like, yes, the master is coming. Ah, ha, ha. He's like, there were like 20 guys who started out this cruise, and now most of them are gone. Just you and me left here on the ship. You gotta love the savage facial hair. First, one man was stricken, and then all. Well, it doesn't look good for the crew on this ship.
It never does.
It does not look good. The captain has Wolverine hair, though. He's got the Wolverine facial hair going on.
The mutton chops with
the mutton chops. But if only he had the claws, man. If all this out. So this is
doesn't matter unless they're made of wood, because it's a vampire.
All the
they need to be made of like blessed holy wood or.
Oh yeah. So I was saying earlier that there's going to be this classic scene that I'm sure that we've all seen clips of, and it's coming up soon. It's one of the spookier scenes of the movie. He's like, why am I trapped here with the caskets? Why? I'm not feeling... Uh-oh, what's going on?
Like I was just hanging out there in the corner.
This isn't cool, man. Like, what's this guy doing? Now he's gone. Like a phantom.
Just taking a break. It's like when that's like when you're on the airplane and you get up to go to the bathroom just because you want to walk around. That's all he's doing. It's not weird. It's not a weird thing to do.
Have you seen Birth of a Nation? Like the original, the D.W. Griffin?
Boy. I mean, I feel like I've seen it all, but not continuously. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yep, there's another corpse you gotta throw down to Davy Jones' locker.
This is, pollution. This is biological waste. You're dumping biological waste into the ocean.
Flop.
There are so many NEPA regulations against that now.
Yeah, the real tragedy is that actor didn't get paid anything more than just the basic wages for getting tossed into the water.
I guess it's not like. I guess it's still a thing, right? Like that's what they did with Osama bin Laden, right? They just dumped the body off the ship at some point.
I believe so.
Yeah.
No, he's gonna go. I'm gonna go fix it. Fix whatever is going on down there.
Can you imagine there's probably a fair chunk of like lower level
He's like, monster.
and even that guy, like
Yep. Rats.
that was
Here it comes. This is it. Spooky as F.
He's so tall and bald, and his fingernails are so long.
Yeah.
Must be.
Well, why don't you just close the door? Have you tried closing the door? Oh, there he goes. Now, being the captain of the ship, and being all hero, he's gonna tie himself. Uh-oh.
Because that's what you do.
Where there's a monster on board. You want
And
to
then
make
you
sure
and
you
then,
can't move.
and then you take a fried cake and you stuff it onto the wheel, and that's how donuts became a thing. No,
Is that how it was? I like your theory.
it's not. It's apocryphal. The actual reason the donuts have a hole is because they cook better that way. It's got nothing to do with.
Driven by the fatal breath of the vampire. Oh yeah.
Dude has some halitosis, but what are you gonna do?
Yep.
I mean, you try being dead and see how your breath feels.
No wonder he's not popular with the ladies.
But that's like a switch, right? Like I think that's part of the deal, right? Like there's all these Western European guys who don't understand why their wives keep cheating on them with these Eastern European onion smelling motherfuckers, right? Like
It's all because of the halitosis. So you're saying that's like a real kind of.
they like don't get it. They don't understand the appeal.
Oh, you gotta love her acting, man. What's the director telling her? Just hold your arms up for the Dark Lord. He is coming, coming for you. Look, there's water. In case you didn't know where ships are, they go on
And he
water.
will ruin your chaste purity by allowing you to understand what orgasms are.
Is that a metaphor for female sexual
A little bit?
needs?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. Could be.
She's like, are you at this again? Stop it. Stop it.
I must go to him.
They made that woman's eyes as big as humanly possible.
Never mind that I'm living in a farmhouse somewhere and he's an Eastern European count and just has all the monies.
Yeah.
That doesn't enter
somehow-
into this equation at all.
Somehow Jonathan gets back before the vampire. Maybe because the overland route's that much faster. And the real person to blame for all this is Count Dracula's travel agent, to tell you the truth. He booked him on this really long cruise when he could have just gone overland.
That's true. That's true.
That is a great escape.
But at this point, when did this movie come out?
1922.
1920. Yeah. So, okay, sure. You could have gotten out of Central Europe overland, but you would have had to go through post World War I Germany. That's not a great option.
But the movie's supposed to take place in 1838. The movie's supposed to take place in 1838, and you should be able to easily get from my knowledge.
That doesn't matter.
My vast knowledge of Central Europe in that time period. Oh. What this man needs is to read some good old-fashioned Karl Marx. When was Marx around? Was Marx around in 1838? I think he was around in 1838, wasn't he? He may not have written the manifesto. What's that?
That might be a little early. He might have been an undergrad.
So, this is the problem. If Renfield only... Wow, special effects coming on. Look out.
That's barely a special effect.
Hey, man, that was an effect. And at the time, it was special.
And smoking will kill you.
Someone's
That's what you get for turning your back on a dude to light a cigarette.
Oh. He's going for the blood.
Diabolic power. Vampires must sleep during the day in the same unhallowed ground. Unhallowed ground.
Kids,
unhallowed ground. That means if you're buried in a non-Christian cemetery.
Yep.
That's how you know, which is why you can't have tattoos.
So I imagine. Oh yeah, definitely. So I imagine if you had a priest bless the soil that the vampire was sleeping in, it would prevent the vampire from sleeping in that coffin that had that soil.
Right, like just consecrate the coffins as they get on the ship. You just which is just basically a church tax to have a dude there.
Church tax, right?
Those rats seem kind of huge for that space.
Well, what they do is that they seem pretty chill, right? For being demonic rats. They're just like hanging around. They're like the director's going, Monroe's saying, hey, we just need a picture of rats for a little bit. We just need some film of rats. Nothing going on here. I'm just bringing this coffin through the streets at night.
Don't mind me. I'm just moving my bed to my new apartment.
Yep. Just hanging out. So this guy knows vampires are real, basically. He knows a vampire is going to be moving across the street from him. Wouldn't you just leave? Wouldn't you just go?
I don't know. I'd like to see this part where the vampire's moving the casket be reimagined in kind of a Tom Hanksy The Burbs kind of thing. Like this could be an amazing comedy right here.
It would be hilarious. No, I agree with you. This would be pretty funny. So what do you have there? I got a box of dirt. You got a box of dirt.
Right, and then you got the vampire just running into like all the problems of moving into a flat in Manhattan, and like, oh, my casket doesn't fit laying down all the way in this efficiency, and so I have to sleep at a 30-degree angle because it's not my fault.
You get a Murphy bed coffin. That's what you need, sir.
It'd be a
Murphy bed coffin.
Murphy bed coffin. See, now that's something that like what we do in the shadows could use in the writer's room is like a Murphy bed coffin kind of idea. You should be just like on the horn with people in New Zealand right now. Just
why don't you people do a Murphy bed coffin?
Figuring out how to get like an actual salary.
Maybe
just for that idea. I mean, I understand he's a vampire, but even so, like, oh, that was a special effect right there, the fade through the wall. But
Here it comes. Oh,
there's a guy with a top hat.
Yep. He means business. And here's another guy with a top hat. And another guy. But the one with the toppiest top hat is the one in charge. They killed Wolverine.
And stole his donut.
Stole his donut. His regenerative powers could not save him from this wasting disease.
And from here, it's just, one of the Jurassic Park movies, except it's vampires instead of dinosaurs.
Yep, that's about it. Just, what's really weird about the third act in this movie is how, Dracula's arms get really small as he rampages through the city. It's really big too, in that Tyrannosaurus Rex way.
That's what I'm saying. People just have a deep-seated fear of things with pointy teeth.
Yeah. One top hat says to the other top hat, "Do you think the insurance is going to cover all this?" I don't know. Maybe it will.
I mean, you would generally think whoever is the person paying for the ship to come across sees the dead captain and is just like, well, that's one salaried employee. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Good point. And you think about it. Ship's log. Past the Dardanelles. And myself, the captain. Who writes like that in their own log? Come on. Well, in theory, this should be very profitable.
15-year-old goth kids.
What you're alluding to is that all the stuff that they carried, right? All the valuables, everything's still there.
And he just wants the manifest. There's no discussion about what goes on with the rest of the goods on the ship, or...
He's like, dead people. And then they talk to each other as they walk away. Profit, 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 profit. Profit.
I have a very large book.
Yep. Top hat's here, too.
We'll investigate. Dun dun dun. Wait, where did they start?
Verna, I believe, in the Black Sea. They started off in the Black Sea, which I know the geography is all off. And then they went through the Dardanelles, and I guess they went around Gibraltar, right?
Which is at the tip of Spain, right?
Yeah. And then they had to go all the way back up to around the Baltic, I believe. Once again, you have to ask why they couldn't have just gone overland like Harker did. John?
See, now the plague thing, that makes a little more sense. You get into that, post Spanish flu pandemic kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right? I mean, because it's only, 8 years out from that. And once you're talking,
4 years, 3 years, right around there. Because it's 1922, Spanish flu is 1918.
I thought Spanish flu was 1912, 13, but...
It was during World War I. Here's the town crier. Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. Well, I'm not dead yet. Well, you will be soon.
Burgomaster. That's a good word.
Burgomaster. Meister
Burgomaster Bruin
forbids the citizens of the city to bring their sick. You're stuck in there with your sick people.
You keep your sick to yourself.
You know, in the city of Milan, I don't know if you know this a little bit, is that when the plague first hit, Milan was able to control the plague, the spread of the plague, somewhat by bricking up houses. So, in apartments. So, if you were living in a complex or if you're living in a house in Milan, and if your neighbor was sick with plague, your house would get bricked up too, as well as the person who was on the other side of the house. And they just bricked up houses.
And then what happened to the healthy people that were inside?
They died.
They starved to death.
They starved to death. You would wake up and then there's just people putting up bricks in your doorway and your windows, and they're saying, "You're not leaving. You have plague." Or you're close to plague.
How very cask of Amontillado.
Like, I believe I read that in one of Barbara Tuchman's book. Through a Glass Darkly, or maybe. I'm not sure.
It does lend itself to the whole, buried alive fear thing.
Yeah.
Which ties in well with the vampire thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you think about it, I mean, about zombies and everything, you can see...
Never open the book of the vampires. But she could not resist the temptation. Because it actually had an anatomically correct model of the clitoris.
Nice. But you can see how zombies, the myth of zombies started from people who had their brains starved of oxygen, right? If they were buried alive.
Yeah.
And so brain damage. So by the time they dug themselves out of the grave, they were traumatized and had brain damage too. So you can see how the shuffling zombie.
Not to mention whatever afflicted them that made everybody think they were dead in the first place, right? Like, I mean, exactly. You get beat up in a bar fight and everybody thinks you're dead and they just throw you in a box and huck you in the ground and
yeah.
Only the pure of heart.
They play this really well in Shadow of the Vampire, the 2000 movie I was talking about. Because even undead men cannot handle the power of woman. That's what this story is really about. Women have such control over men
that even though the sun's going to kill you, she'll make you sit there to watch the sunrise with her because she thinks it's romantic and you just have to go along
kill
with
you.
it.
See? Yeah. Right. Just like that. Once again, I don't know why we haven't moved. Why are we here for? You promised me to live in a nice place, and this is not a nice place. This is what she's telling him. And now I'm really sad, because now I'm going to die, and we're next door to this place, this horrible place that you brought me to. My mother told me that I should not have married you.
She told me you were a loser.
Yep.
You're going to be living here in this second-rate flat. You promised me a topiary.
A topiary, indeed. Now, shouldn't she be happy because her Dark Lord is there across the street? She should be ecstatic. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What's going on? He sees something. Something terrible. No, he just has feelings, I guess. That was his big feeling scene. I have feelings of dread. Yep.
Okay, that's my job. I lit the big lamp.
Gotta light the big lamps. That's right. They are ridiculously large lamps. When you
It
think
was
about
a
it.
very large lamp.
That is like a ridiculously large lamp. Well, the good thing we don't have to worry about plague now, or diseases, or pandemics, or epidemics.
Oh, no, yeah, there's no problems with that right now.
Yep. Don't be frightened. I will
Not the
get the
doctor, the
professor.
professor.
He thinks the germ theory of disease is all bunk. Don't worry about him. He's an authority.
His name is Dr. Phil. Have you considered that maybe you're not sick and you're just upset and not expressing yourself?
Right. Exactly.
Bring out your dad.
A lot of people dead.
Bring out your dad.
Her husband knows there's a vampire afoot. There seems to be some kind of disconnect in the script writing for this flick. Rotten Tomatoes did give it a 97%. And for the time, it was groundbreaking.
All those dead bodies. But on the other hand, he makes me feel things.
He makes me feel alive. She must sacrifice her blood. Now, it's funny, in the movie and in the book, in the other movie, Keanu Reeves movie, and in the book, I believe she's a virgin, and that has to do with the power of her blood over the vampire.
Because clearly, once you've been defiled, it's
right. It's the vampire. You are not worthy. You're not pure enough.
Yeah, you're just another.
Just another frog.
Yeah. Oh. You are unclean and therefore cannot break the curse, or whatever it is.
Oh, they're talking about the Renfield there. Here he is, just running around the town.
Don't you always just kind of feel a little bad for Renfield, where it's just like he's kind of got this weird middle manager thing going on, where it's not his fault, but he just gets shit on more than anybody. Like,
well, yeah, well, he's obviously a scapegoat, and I mean, he's done something wrong. Don't get me wrong, but look at me, I'm crazy. I'm gonna throw.
Well,
down.
like, I mean, he's like local, and the vampire is the aforementioned Eastern European invader, so it's kind of got that.
Yeah.
You betrayed your people thing going on, which is a little weird. Not a particularly graceful dismount.
No, definitely not. But they did 20, they did 20 tries, and that was the best one. Dick, life, Dick? Is that what it says? I love Dick, is that what it says? I mean, I don't know. I don't speak German. I don't read German. This is like some really intricate game of tag.
He went this way. And now this is just kind of very Lord of the Flies-y.
Yeah. They had to attack a scarecrow.
There's a weird old man. And he must be the cause of all our problems, because he's weird looking and spooky.
They just attacked the scarecrow, and they're like, victory!
Booze.
He's creeping.
He is creeping.
Creeping vampire.
He is. I must go to him.